Second, and I believe everyone can hear us now. So welcome everybody to what is now episode 6 of the Splinter Talk Show. Thank you guys for tuning in here live or listening to us on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, the new Hive, what is it, Ariel? I don't even know how to say it. AU Real as the Hive podcast platform. I don't know if anyone's using it yet, but we're on there now, so that's exciting. And today I got two guests. I know we had to switch up the time, so thank you guys for being here. Two special guests. Steve as a return, which I believe this is the third now. So you also tie up Jim, who now has 3. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's pretty impressive, I think, because Jim seems to be quite available for these type of things usually. So
does that make you a co-host?
He is on a lot of shows. I catch his voice like all over the place. So
are you saying Jim has no life? Is that what you're throwing down?
His life is Splinterlands.
His life is Splinterlands because he takes it from the most financial look as any of us, right? The rest of us are mostly, I think, at least a little bit into it for the game and the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that for sure, but I thank Steve for being here. I know you've wanted to be on all the weeks, but your schedule with the podcast changed, so we'll have to get you on more often as well. And then for the first time ever, introducing, he is not Trash, his name is Trash, but we have Trash Dragon on for the first time. You want to introduce yourself and let people know who you are in case they don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's CJ, aka the Trash Dragon. I am a very small content creator. I've been playing Splinterlands since September. I'm lucky enough to have I wouldn't say they're whales. It's like a pod of orcas who are helping support me in my gameplay. So I'm typically gold 1, diamond 3 if I get really lucky at the end of season. And I'm just thrilled to be here. I am trying to be like Snoop Dogg, and I have the beginnings of a migraine. So it's kind of a both and situation here.
Well, they make you look cool. So even if you're feeling bad, at least you look cool, right?
I appreciate that.
Give us your background a little bit. Like how you said you got into Splinter in September. What brought you in? What kind of level are you playing at right now?
What brought me in? So I quit my job to be a stay-at-home cat dad. It's a very important job because cats take care of themselves, and that shows you how much my wife trusts me.
So you can play Splinterlands 24/7.
I can. I play a couple hours a day, and one of my buddies from my previous job was like, dude, you got to get into crypto. I'm making a lot of money. And I was like, I don't know. This seems like crazy wizard money. And so we did pretty good, and it's been really fun. I love card games. I grew up playing Magic the Gathering. My brother was on the pro tour for Magic, and so he's real good. I'm not as good as him. He also paid his way through college playing poker, which is wild to me. So I more have the intuitive, I know how games work and I enjoy them. I don't have the engineering brain that's 2 + 3 = 5.5 when I play Yodin. I don't have that kind of math going on.
Yeah. So are you bronze, silver, gold?
Oh, gold 1 to diamond 3. I have enough power to be in diamond 1, but I do not have the cards. I don't have the right decks. The cards aren't all combined because my buddies were like, here, let me delegate you all the cards that I have. So they're not.
Yeah.
So you have the power, but you don't have the levels.
Precisely.
Yeah. Well, and that's going to be an interesting thing. And that maybe gets us into our first topic anyways, because I'm curious for you, Trash Dragon, and maybe others, modern format, half the power requirements, likely, not 100% confirmed. We talked about this last week, but I also want to get...
It's 95% confirmed.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's probably just going to happen, right? Which is going to make an interesting dynamic, right? Because now you're talking about, for a player like Trash Dragon or a player like me, I only have 130, 140,000 card power, right? So I'm playing in gold, barely surviving in gold because I have silver level summoners. Mm-hmm. Now, potentially, I have the card power all of a sudden dropped on me for diamond, for max level cards, max level summoners if I wanted to. Obviously, I don't have the money for that because that's, 10 plus grand at least probably for all the Chaos Legion summoners and cards maxed out, maybe even more than that. So I don't know give us some fresh takes because you guys weren't a part of the conversation last week. What did you guys think about that news?
Okay, I'll go. So I really think that this had to come because they cut power by so much in the cards. So there's no way you could keep it at the levels it was in the past. I mean, you're talking gold foil legendaries now giving 12,000 power when just not too long ago they gave 50,000 power. So they needed to cut this down, and it's going to make things a lot better because the idea to me is if you're like in your situation, you're going to see now, oh, I have the power for diamond. And then with the rewards chest changing, you're going to say, wow, in diamond, they have this many % chance to get packs, this many more chance to get legendaries, this many more % chances to get this. And it's going to become something that you can aspire to do because you go, you know what? I don't necessarily need to level up all my teams. Maybe I just need to level up my favorite team. And then it's going to be like, okay, wait, now I need to level up a second one because the favorite team isn't there all the time. And it will help push people just to get to that next level of the game where no longer there's going to be a power problem. Because I honestly feel that power and renting for power hurts the game, doesn't help the game. Because if we were all instead, able to get further, and every dollar you were spending renting, you'd be spending in the just building your account and making it stronger. And your goal wouldn't be like, oh, I need to get a little bit more card power. It's I need to get a little bit higher level cards so that I can actually compete in those upper leagues and I'm not getting destroyed by the max level stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the change that I really see in this doing for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, even newer players into the game, right? A lot of people ask me like, what do I do? Like, should I spend my, $50 on this or that? And honestly, for the longest time, the answer has just been like, until you get 15,000 power, your rewards suck. So like, you're going to be spending all your money, no good cards, no leveled up cards. Go have fun buying all those cheap reward cards and get 100 copies just so you can start playing Silver 3. Then you can finally start leveling up and having fun. But like, until you get over that, what's been that like $100 bump to start, it's like, it's not any fun. You don't get the benefit of actually getting leveled up summoners and things. And I'm interested from Trash's point of view here. You're saying you're already playing in Diamond potentially when you get the rating for it. You already have the power. That means when this change happens in Modern League, you're hitting champion power, right? Like,
I will be definitely hitting champion power. I will not be hitting Diamond 3 gameplay. I was trying this morning at like 2 a.m. I was trying to hit Diamond 3 and I was just getting dumped on, man. Like, just not only were players knowing exactly what I was going to play and countering me hard, they also had double the level of summoners and monsters that I had. I was just like, this isn't happening. I'm going to bed.
Is that a motivation for you though? Now you're like, oh, I'm in champion. Is that like kind of what Steve said? Is that motivating to be like, oh, well, maybe I actually should get one max level deck, or is that just like so far to reach it's not even consideration for you?
It wasn't a carrot until he said it, and now I'm like, oh, I do want to play in champion. I do want to be good at this game.
Yeah, and I really do think it's going to be a carrot for a lot of people. And it's just one of those things. Because right now, like, I'm playing my little $150 account, and I understand all those frustrations. And I want to walk away from that account so bad. I'm like, I hate this account. Because I'm trying to balance renting enough power to stay up in silver. I don't want to be earning credit. I joined a guild on that account because I got invited to one, but it's almost detrimental because they want you to contribute. And It's like, oh, there's all these things that should be more fun. It's just all of a sudden you're like, man, playing this game is like balancing a checkbook now. It's not like playing a game. And so when power isn't a problem so much, I feel like that's better because power was never a problem in the past. To be completely honest, when they first introduced it, the only people who had a problem with power, it was really were people who were literally, because when the game first started, there weren't that many players. So you could get up into like diamond with nothing. Because there just wasn't any players, and I was in Champion 1 all the time with like level 4 cards. It's just that's what it was because there weren't enough people to play, and so eventually they introduced power because they didn't like level 4 people playing in Champion 1, right? They didn't want that. That didn't make sense to them, so they had to do it. But at this point, it's kind of something that isn't even needed as much, just enough to make sure that you have some kind of stake in the game. But also with the introduction of the free cards not earning rewards anymore, it's almost an afterthought in my mind. So I don't mind it dropping way down.
I didn't realize that it wasn't always an issue, because since I've been playing, it's been an issue.
Trash, you and me, we've had a rough time, man.
I went and looked it up too. I did start in June of 2018. So I have been playing for quite a while. But anybody who plays for quite a while, I mean, if you look at the old rewards cards, look how much power they gave you. And so when you would have all of those cards, and I mean, and it's not like double the power. Some of them give you like 4 times as much power. So we just got a whole lot more power for those cards. I mean, for some, for anybody who's trying to play the game for free, power is probably a problem. But this isn't really a game that's designed to play for free. That's why there's, a spell book you have to buy to get into the game there. And then, it's kind of expected you're going to make some level of investment.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and even I did a quick video just today. They dropped about like, hey, when modern releases, like there's no point in renting, right? I mean, you're talking about 7,500 power, which based on how cheap card power is now, and probably could even get cheaper from here. My calculations were like, okay, $37 at most. Potentially, if things keep dropping, $25 to get into silver. And my point was like, okay, we complained so long about how hard it is to get into silver, but literally, even if you're from somewhere that you can't make any extra money, that's like 3 share your battle posts. Like that's a half hour a week making a post, putting it on peaked, and you're going to get yourself into silver 3 within at least a month of playing, even if you're trying to essentially start from nothing. So while I sympathized for a long time about how hard bronze is and how difficult it is to climb to silver unless you have that $100, now with this new change, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to have any more sympathy for you, because we should all at least be able to achieve silver 3 with some ease.
Yeah, and like something you mentioned there, you got to embrace the community if you don't have the money. Because, if you're in your Discord, you're in my Telegram, you're making those posts, you're going to get curated by, find a few of the bigger players. The Splinterlands community is very supportive. Why am I so supportive? Why did I give you so much, Luke? Because so much was given to me. Back in my day, it was Carrie and Clove who were just like, here, have stuff, and throwing it at me because I was playing the game. And that's all they were trying to do, is just get people to play the game. And also, if you get into the community, I think it's kind of cool to write a post and get it voted up by the Splinterlands team and see like a $15 for something that you spent some time writing. Because imagine how hard that used to be to do, to get paid to create content, even if it is a small amount of money. That was not something you could do in the past so easily. Literally make maybe like $60, $80 for spending a couple hours a week writing a post about a video game you're playing.
Yeah, never. I mean, that's more than I make on YouTube with all the time I put into videos.
I know, right?
I mean, AFK does say like if they upvote you. It seems like they've had a hard time getting to all the posts lately, but that's another separate thing.
That's where you have to do more than just rely on them, though, because I upvote people, and my upvote's only $1. I give people the tip view upvote, it's another $3 to $4, and then if you get into a community of people that are doing it together, I mean, that's how the votes can grow. Because hopefully, if you get into a community of players who are playing together and talking to each other, you all start voting each other and supporting each other, and the blog becomes something that can help your guild level up and build things, because that's the whole idea of Hive. Almost, it's maybe not, people wouldn't love this, but you have to create your little circle, Yeah.
There you go. Just got to go get some brownie points with Steve. Yeah. Well, I'm curious from you guys. We had a small discussion about it last week, and I think it was briefly mentioned by Rogue, who came on and was talking about hopefully this form of Chaos Legion, the modern format, this is kind of the set and the cycle that can really last for the future, right? That, hey, next time that there's a huge release, whatever, Rift Watchers, or in the next release, the Chaos Legion 2023, whatever it's going to be called, hopefully it's the same amount of power. We all have the same amount of power requirements. They found a balance and equilibrium, and it's not like, oh, next common cards are going to be, 2.5 card power. The next one from there, 1 card power. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on that, and Dragon, I'll go to you first. Do you see that kind of being the trend? Is this kind of the Splinterlands team saying, hey, we've set a precedent and it's going to last for years to come, or do you think there's still more changes down the road?
Gosh, let me pull out my crystal ball and ask Snoop Dogg what he thinks. I have no idea. I think it depends on the growth of the game, right? If more people are coming in and putting money in, maybe. I can't see them going that low. Well, hold on. I got to see the numbers. I don't know. Like, because if power is changing that much with modern, maybe it's okay to keep going down. I'm not sure. Has the team said anything? Have they addressed this at all?
No, I mean, really what they've only talked about is the current Chaos Legion cards. I mean, I'm assuming Rift Watchers as a subset of Chaos Legion would be the same style of power. I doubt that they would change it for that. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Steve, as a long-term player who's been here for 4 years now, what is your perspective?
It's not quite 4 years. 4 years in June.
Okay, sorry. We'll celebrate the anniversary.
Who's counting? Who's counting?
No, but no, I don't think they'll be going down again or doing a big cut. The lower in the cuts and powers was an homage to the original players. If you were here in alpha and beta, if you were supporting them when this was just an idea, and the biggest question you were ever asked in Discord is this game fake? Is it a scam? Because that's what everybody would ask when back in those first days. And we were, we bankrolled the entire game if you bought alpha cards, if you bought beta cards, and there was massive things that those people did. So they wanted those cards to be special. They wanted to protect their value. It's something the team has done that has probably made them my favorite team in all of crypto. They actually have done what they said they would do and tried to protect the first people that supported them. And so 100%. Alpha and beta cards are extremely more power than the current set, and they're that way on purpose. But now that that's been established, I don't feel like they'll have to do it again, especially because it'll just make things confusing. And there's no, I love you, got everyone who came in at Chaos Legion, but they're not going to have to make a special, we got to cut power again when Rebellion comes out, because nobody's going to be really asking for that at this point. It was really just a way for them to really, there were some, I wasn't even a big investor, but there were some people that invested a lot of money and were like, we want our cards to be special. If you're going to keep releasing new sets, how are they going to be special? Power is going to be one of the ways. I mean, because you're already talking about like a gold foil legendary card with 50,000 power. It can, bankroll a person up like in the new modern, I mean, quite a few leagues. So I don't think it'll change again. It also related to card packs. And do you see them going a lot more than they did for this one with the, what is it? My head's hurting, but how many million packs are they trying to sell?
15 million.
15.
So, I mean, maybe if they go to 30 million, they would half it again on the cards. But but that's kind of where it comes from, right? Is how much more cards are in the ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting point, and I hope that for the most part it stays consistent, right? Because it'd be nice to be like, okay, I'm shooting for gold, or, this next year I'm going to be reinvesting, and I can get to diamond and just call it good, right? Like from there, all I got to do is level up my cards. I don't need to worry about power anymore for years to come. Whereas if they keep changing it, I think that's been kind of the frustrating thing for us who have gotten into this game the last 6 months or so, is that things are just constantly changing. Like you don't really know what to do or what your plan is until the next announcement. It's like every town hall, I'm hanging on to these words of like, okay, where do I need to put my investment? Where should I be buying cards versus power? And it seems like everything just constantly changes. So I don't know, from my perspective, it'd be nice if it can be more consistent from here on out so that we're not having to constantly make a million different Google sheets for people to follow along with,
Yeah,
and
but go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's an intricate calculus for one game. And if you start stacking other play to earn games on top of it, I have about 100 Discords that I'm a part of following all the AMAs. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But the one thing I would say too is with the power that they won't, the only other reason to adjust it maybe would be, they want, like any other card game, to release sets continuously, right? So if they get to a point where they need to do it because players are not wanting to buy the new sets, I could see a cut then. But then again, or maybe an increase in what you need to get up in the leagues. I don't know if they would need to cut the power of the cards, but they might need to say, hey, with the new set, we're going to increase how much power that you need to be in silver, because they want to, help push the next set.
Well, the thing about the Modern League, though, is that it's always going to be the 2 years of sets, right? So if the next year comes out and someone has all this card power in Untamed, specifically for the Modern League, that's going to count now towards the Wild, but from my understanding, it won't count towards Modern anymore. So
yeah,
if you're putting all your card power into Chaos Legion right now, 2 years from now, you're going to have to buy the new set or the next 2 sets to continue with that card power and continue to climb, unless you're going to go just to Wild.
Yeah, I would kind of trust the team and know that if you're a player who has a goal to have at least, say, 4 teams that are leveled in the area that you want to play in, power won't be a problem for you. If you're trying to stay lower than that and you're trying to eke out like the best dollar rewards, then you might still have to go to the rental market. But the rental market shouldn't be as bad as it is now, because it's just not going to be needed as much when the new set comes out, right? So you probably want it to pay as much, but it kind of depends on what type of player you want to decide to be. I don't really think this game, it's hard for me because I want to remember my perspective. I live in America, I have a good job. This is, something I'm not really doing to try to make a ton of money. It's more a hobby on the side, and I use it for content creation. And I do see the power that it can do for people in other parts of the world. So I want to let them come in and play the game and start the hive blogging and things like that, because it's pretty incredible if you can do this and make more money than you normally make in a month. But in general, if we attract enough of the type of players who aren't trying to squeeze every dime out of the game, and instead are just going to be buying the cards, competing at the levels, competing in the tournaments, it should make things better also for the people who are trying to squeeze this stuff out, because, rental markets will be less if the rest of us are buying stuff.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense what you're saying, Steve. And speaking of card power, we didn't talk about this last week, so I want to touch on it this week. They mentioned new reward cards potentially sooner rather than later. They didn't give an exact date, but essentially what we're going to see at some point is double the reward cards, because these old reward cards that we're getting now, they're still only like, 35% last time maybe I checked printed, so a third out of the total supply. And now they're introducing new reward cards. Do those words make you guys excited? Does that make you like more cards on the market? Maybe some of the cards we currently have are not going to be as valuable. Like, what's your reaction to this?
I was excited. Well, first I was surprised because it was not what I was expecting. Because once again, when I first started playing, I think I got like an Axe Master, a Harvester, and then did they run out? I didn't get any more for like a long time. I think they had run out.
I mean, those are good rewards. I got like a Nightmare and like a Spineback Turtle, and then it was like, if you got a good reward, it was because they didn't have any reward cards left, and it was like, hey, here's 10,000 DEC, which back then was pretty great, actually.
It's a lot of DEC. And so...
the biggest chest I've ever opened was 52,000 DEC.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
In what league?
I play champion, I play Diamond Champion, but still, they didn't even have that kind of stuff back then. It was just, you would have got a gold foil legendary, but you didn't. We ran out, so here's 52,000. Well,
and if you want to hate on Steve for that, just know he also donated 50,000 to our guild recently. So there you go, it all evens out.
That's awesome. So I'm excited. I mean, more reward cards. I think for me, I'm a relatively new player. It gets me excited about playing more because I get to build my collection, and that's one of the things that I love is leveling up my cards, getting each card in each splinter. Like it just, I think there's a little bit of a completionist in me that really enjoys that. And also I'm guessing they're going to be cheaper. Like what I mean is the current cards that are reward cards, they're pretty cheap. And I just buy a bunch of them. Steve, I see you shaking your head.
No, they'll be more expensive at first because they're new. So that's the life of a rewards cards always have almost like the new coin
Like
up
an idea,
and
yeah.
then down to nothing. so
So wait
So
to
sell
buy
'em
them.
quick.
and then way up later on, because
Right,
you'll
in
have
a few
players like
years.
me who want to max one, so I need 400 copies, so I'm going to go buy them all, and then in general they're going to be most expensive in the beginning. So yeah, if you're patient, you could sell yours early and then buy back into them later probably, and you'll get more than you had.
I mean, if I sold my $60 Oceanus when I had the chance, I could have gotten a maxed one now.
Exactly. So especially the legendaries, like if you're a smaller player and you pull an early legendary, I'd say definitely sell it, because the prices are just going to go down as more people come out. Overall, I'm pretty excited though, because you can tell the team realizes the reward structure is not enticing enough, and it's going to get a lot better. And these 10 cards are going to coincide with the release of the new reward structures, where bronze is no longer going to be like, hey, you get one chest and it's probably got a potion in it. Right. So when we get into a world where, everybody's quest, because if they do what they have kind of alluded to, it's like everybody will do their quest and we'll all get something between like 7 and 10 chests. It's just in bronze, 3 of those are going to have potions, 4 of them are going to have potions, 1's going to have credits, but 2 will have cards, and now there's like 20, like there's going to be a whole bunch of cards you could get. And in silver, you'll get less potions, and the champion players will probably stop getting potions almost ever by the basis of what they're going to be doing, which is actually probably a good financial move to make, because we'll just go buy our potions so they don't have to give them to us.
Right.
The actual players that need potions aren't getting any of the potions. If only us small krills could sell off the potions, that would be great, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, the potions are there to try to get you to buy a pack.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for. So the idea here, though, of releasing all that at the same time just leads to me to like a very, very exciting time to be trying to bring new people into the game, because there's going to be all these new cards you can get. Right now, there's only 3 legendaries you can get. So picture that probably doubling, probably a legendary for all of the teams that you can pull. Also, you're probably looking at cards that are going to coincide to work with the new summoners. So if some of the new summoners have a little bit of a change in dynamic to a team, given almost every team can do everything now because so many cards have been released, but there's still a couple that maybe get a summoner that you might not see completely fit, and then you'll see an epic card come out to go with that summoner or something to make it a much more powerful combo. So it's going to be an exciting time for sure. I can't wait until it's not one chest for people in bronze, because it's so hard to bring people into the game for that.
Rough.
It's like, hey, come play, come quest, come fight bots, get almost no DEC, and then open a chest and get a potion. And then you're like, yeah, I know why you quit.
Yeah. Well, I want to expand this discussion a little bit, but I mean, the reward cards are awesome, but we don't know what they are, so it's hard to talk about them a little bit. But I do want to pick up on something they said in the town hall of, we don't want to be like Magic the Gathering. We don't want to always be constantly putting out cards, but we do have new reward cards. We have Rift Watchers. We have these things coming up, and I saw on Dwayne's channel a little bit ago, someone asked him like, okay, you talk about how these cards are deflationary because you have to combine them together to level them up. Yet, is it really deflationary because they're adding more and more cards in general, right? And that's kind of the argument of like, is it deflationary because you're combining them? Is it inflationary because they're adding new cards, new sets all the time? And I kind of want to pick your guys' brains. Do you guys agree with the level of supply they're putting out on the market? Does that concern you as people that do own assets? Or are you guys just like, I'm in it for the game, so anytime I can get a new card, it's fun?
I'm not concerned about how many cards are in the game. I still feel like the supply is very low. I think anybody who says that it's not very low is somebody who's not trying to level up cards. There are people who are maybe trying to get into level 2 or 3. The level up curve is very exponential. If you've never leveled up a card to max, you don't understand how deflationary cards are. I mean, literally, like buying that last 100 commons to get that last level feels
so many.
It's a lot to have to go out there and purchase. So they are very deflationary, and the reason why it feels like there's a lot out there is because land isn't here yet. And land was supposed to be here, and land is going to be a card sponge, because you're going to have a land resource that can create forever a resource that you can sell to help people mint cards forever in the course of this game. and it's going to give you the most resource if you put a max level summoner on it with max level legendary cards. And theoretically, the ones that would make the most are going to be gold foil legendary cards with gold foil legendary things that will go on gold foil legendary land, and that land will produce the most. We don't know exactly how many monsters that are going to go on there, but in one of the AMAs, he said for sure a summoner will, for sure. And if there are summoners summon monsters. So I guarantee you're not putting in level 10 common on a land with a level 2 summoner. It's not going to happen. So when land comes out and you start to see the land barons, who are people who are outside of this game, some people own land and they don't even own cards because they don't know what they need yet. And they have to come to the marketplace and they go, okay, I want my lands to produce the most. Who's the cheapest summoner? Buy a maxed one. Who's the cheapest legendary card? Buy a maxed one. Who's the and all of that stuff's going to start coming off of the marketplace. And I mean, it's a daunting number when you think about it, because like I have a pretty big collection, but I have 200 land. 200. That means I need 200 maxed summoners to make max production on all of my land. Now that's probably not ideal, but imagine what would that do to the market if I just wanted to come take 200 summoners off of the board. It would be,
prices will go up.
Yeah, they go up a lot. And I'm not even a big land owner. Have you seen Matt Two Castles Clark or Neil Two Castles Smith with their 2,000 lands apiece?
Oh, gosh. So
there are people out there with quite a bit of these lands. They understand how impactful they're going to be, because right now the game is who has Llama, who has Yodin, who has Mylor, who has Lorena. Pretty soon it's going to be who has the spell that counters that card, who has the equipment that counters that card. And when in that new phase of the game, those equipment and spell cards are going to be so important, and they're going to come from land production. And I mean, it's going to be like, remember how we saw DEC fly from nothing to insane amounts? That ecosystem is going to push the market. It's going to be the next super push of this market, and it's going to be a fun ride. And if you're here now and you're collecting, you're going to get to take part in that ride.
There you go. Not a financial advice, but it is. Just kidding. Trash, what about you? Are you, when you hear these announcements, do you have your investor hat on? You're like, oh, I don't know what this is going to do to my card prices. Or are you more just that gamer mentality, like, sweet, like shiny new thing?
Man, I'm along for the ride. I think this is the most trustworthy team in crypto, because every time I hear something come out of Agrode's mouth, the next week they have an update and movement on it if they haven't already accomplished it. And other projects I'm in they aren't like that. Not even close. And so I do trust the team to do what's best. I do trust the team to add value to people who are holding their assets, because they say they want to increase the assets of people who are holding what stuff in the game. And every week, that's what the team is doing. Every single week. And so am I worried about it? A little bit, because I bought a lot of Chaos Legion packs. To say I'm not worried would be a lie. And so I guess I'm kind of holding the tension within myself of like, I trust this team. Yes, it's a lot of cards. And then we have like the Holy Trinity now. Steve's going to be in my head like, okay, land's coming. Land's coming. It's all going to be okay. So I guess all of that to say I'm excited and nervous, and I really hope Chaos Legion packs go up in price.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting dynamic, and I think that's what makes NFT gaming, whatever project you're in, is so interesting. Are you in it because you're an investor that wants to gamble and get rich? Are you in it because you just like games and owning your assets is interesting to you? And I think, that's part of like the community. When you hear feedback from them, it's like it can be completely from different perspectives of like, I love this announcement because it's just so much fun, versus like, I can't believe they're doing this. Like, it's going to wreck all of my investments. And like,
right.
Just the spectrum of points of view, it's just all over the place. And that's why I think we can get super positive responses from these things. And you can also get the super like negative, or I'm just really worried about what this is going to do to card prices or whatever the asset is at the time.
I'll tell you one thing I'm worried about. Summoners are going to get way too expensive. Way too expensive. Because I just look at the market right now, and the new summoners, there's a total of 6.5 max General Sloans, 4.5 Tarsas, only 3.5 Thaddeus's, 3.5 Obsidians, 4.5 Achilleas, and around.
You mean available for sale?
Five Quixes if you want max level ones.
Yeah, available right now.
Available, available for sale. That's all you have.
Got it.
So I just told you I have 200 land, and I need 200 max summoners, and there's not even close to 200 for sale. And I'm one medium-sized holder of land. There's 150,000 lands coming.
So what's your strategy? Like, if that's the reality now, and you're saying that's the thing that worries you, like how do you accommodate for that? Like, how do you plan?
I've been buying summoners. So you have to, imagine, if I have a common land, I'm not going to throw a max level summoner probably on that one, because even if you push it to its highest potential, it's not going to be great, right? So I don't want to imagine like every 150,000 land is going to have a max level summoner on it, but it's going to need something, and you might want what is like the easiest level to get to before it gets expensive. Probably silver, right? That's probably where most of the summoners on the land will be. Maybe some people will go a little bit lower than that. And I know there's the people out there who have like 1, 2, or 3 lands, but I honestly feel like when they look into how much more they're going to have to invest to get it producing pretty well, a lot of people are just going to sell those when land spikes, when land is actually able to be used, because it's going to take a lot of stuff. But there's not enough summoners in the game, and that's why I don't mind these mini sets. That's really what Rift Watchers is about. It's about releasing 5 more summoners. It's really what the legendary summoners coming to the game is about. It's releasing some more legendary summoners, because there's not enough for land. Not if the idea is you need a summoner on every land, and to max out your production, you need a maxed out summoner.
Right, and that's still a lot of speculation, though. They haven't come out and said that directly yet, right?
No, I think Aggro has said it directly. Because in one of the AMAs, one of the questions was like, is there any chance we won't need a summoner for a land? And he responded, no, you're going to need a summoner. And yeah. I mean, you might have missed that if you weren't listening to the
But we don't know
stuff.
If max level is like needed for max production.
Yeah, that part's some speculation, but I mean, could you imagine it wouldn't be? You think they're going to cut it off that you only have to get your summoner to level 5, or you only need a level 1? I mean, the whole game is trying to get you to level your cards.
Right.
Everything else is.
Lord in the chat says, looks like I'm putting a Waka on a common land. We finally found a good use for Waka, guys.
Hey, exactly. If they're going to do a whole bunch of promo legendary summoners, they're going to be land farmers. Waka's going to be working the farm.
I want music. If I put Waka on a land, like I want like a percentage of his music sales or something. If I'm, they should do something creative. That would be fun.
There we go. Or maybe like some backstage passes. I don't even think he performs anymore, right? So
yeah, I want to be invited to the party at his crib. That's what I want.
That would be awesome.
No, that'd be funny if you could get him to have a party for Waka holders.
Oh my God. I would absolutely buy one and fly to wherever he is.
I don't know him at all. I don't really listen to his music, but I don't know if that's the top of my list to go hang out with Waka.
But to party with a famous rapper?
I guess, yeah.
I don't know.
That's on my bucket list.
That's a good video to make, just you at his house.
Content, Luke. Content.
All right, Steve, there you go. You just got to gift me a Waka, and I'll put it on the land, and yeah.
I've only got one Waka, so that's a hard one to gift.
Only.
Well, you're gonna have to go buy another one. Oh man. Well, I do want to. I know today's podcast is gonna be a little bit shorter, but both things I heard from you guys is I have a lot of trust in the team to kick back value, and bringing on people for the Splinterlands podcast. We're all streamers. Some of us are on the stream team. All of that. Or Steve, you've been here forever. So there's on the podcast, it's hard to get people that are on here that are like, I hate Splinterlands, or I don't have any trust on the team, right? But it was interesting that posting the video from last week, specifically on the concerns around bot and some of the comments getting back, I won't read the entire comment here, but One comment was, I think the team overall failed to capitalize on the massive growth between August and January, and a lot of blames could be put on the bot stance and the things they did, in quotes, because of bots. And another comment was like, it took them 5 effing months to figure their decision out, and they still don't want to direct approach to take out the bots. So, it's interesting to see some of the comments of people in the community. Not everyone is like that, but there's definitely some comments that were some pretty big pushback, even to just the fact of like, hey, we're going to take out starter card rewards to combat the bots in their eyes. So what are you guys seeing? Are you guys seeing some of that from your communities? Do you guys empathize with those thoughts at all of like, man, these bots are really ruining this entire game? I don't know. How do you guys feel about it?
The one place it affects me is we run a small guild. We have way too many assets for our guild. I got to figure out how to expand it. But we have people who they're playing in bronze and like low silver, and they've stopped playing. And so I've been reaching out. I'm like, hey, what's going on? They're like, it's not worth it to rent. And I'm like, well, give me a list of cards. I will get you those cards. Like, what deck do you want? And so I do think at the low levels, it's an issue. The team acknowledges it's an issue and they're trying to fix it. Personally, it doesn't affect me all that much because I'm blessed to have benefactors, and the team's working on it, and I trust them. The first thing that came to my mind, Luke, when you said that was that Taylor Swift song, like "Haters gonna hate, 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 hate," and it's like I try to not worry myself with that. I'm like, it'll get taken care of.
I ignore them, and I ignore them because of this. If bots ruin your life in this game, you didn't invest in the game. So
I also had
sorry,
that thought.
You came here and you wanted to get rich with no investment. You also probably don't do the share your battle votes. You probably also didn't join my Telegram, where I would have probably just given you a bunch of crap. You didn't contact any other streamer out there, and you're bitter. Get over it. And if you really want to be active in this community, get active in the community, talk to people, join somebody's Discord. It doesn't have to be mine. Luke runs one. Most of the big streamers do, or just talk to people in the Splinterlands Discord. Usually there's kind players that'll help you out and help you with little things. And to me, the bots they shouldn't be banned if they don't have an advantage. Now, they do have to protect us from the tools that I heard about, and I know they're trying to make them so that you wouldn't want a bot to be able to check a database, see how Steve plays, and play a perfect counter. You also wouldn't want a bot that is somehow able to see what I actually played if it waits until the end, which those kind of things we can't have. But bots that just play accounts that basically goes 17 mana, what team wins the most, and puts it on the board, those ones are relatively easy to beat if you know it's coming and you bought the cards to be able to compete against them. Now, to me, making the starter cards not work, I think you guys really underplayed it because I listened last week, and like this idea that people have that, bots are still going to be here. There's still going to be bots are going to be completely different, because before, a bot runner who really runs a massive amount of simple bots to pull value out of this game was coming here and opening 1,000 accounts or more. And I also, like Jim, I have a bot. I've made videos about bots, and I use them on my 2 alt accounts. I don't bot 1,000 accounts, and those accounts play in diamond. They don't play down at the bottom, but I run bots on them because I, as a content producer, I don't have time to play 3 accounts. I just don't. So that's one reason why they're needed. But the other reason why they were needed is for if you want a new player to come into the game and play in bronze and be able to get a match. Most legitimate players don't stay in bronze for very long. They're up in silver, they're up in diamond. So they're needed to go ahead and keep the games active, make sure that matches can always be found at any time of the day for a game that is worldwide. It's just you needed bot runners to no longer become pure leeches and become people that have to at least make initial investments if they want to leech into the card market. That, and Matt admitted that was the big mistake they made, is that the investment they were making wasn't going to the players at all. It was only going to Splinterlands. And then that investment, by allowing them to earn with the free cards, was literally like, here's Splinterland, here's $10, and now I'm going to suck every dime I can away from your players. What was the way that was kind of working. Now it's going to be like, okay, I bought my account. I have to get it at least 1 copy of every single card. And go ahead and look at the market. If I have 1,000 accounts and I need one copy of every single card, that is a lot of cards being pulled off of the marketplace. And so that'll eat up a lot of that volume, or the bots will start to disappear and there'll be less of them. Or people will have to look at this completely different and be like, okay, so running the free cards doesn't make me any money. So what is the best bang for my buck? And you're going to see some of the bot people decide, okay, I need to get summoners to level 2, at least 3 of them on each one of my bot accounts. And then they'll be able to farm and they'll make it up to here. And then I'll be able to pull down good rewards. The bot guys will figure it out. But trying to ban them just doesn't make a lot of sense. It takes away from kind of one of the crypto ideas in my mind. If they're not cheating, they're just being smart enough to create a bot, run the bot, pull down. And in theory, it helps the ecosystem a little bit. And it does create, the thing it hurts is card value. But I do feel like making them have to purchase at least some of the cards should fix that to an extent. Maybe to a much more of an extent than people think, because I mean, how many bot accounts do you think there are? And what if all of them need to buy cards now? Now, I admit they don't have to buy every card, because you can play with like 3 teams, 2 teams. You can't play with one, because it might not win enough if it doesn't get access to that team all the time. But
yeah, and I think it depends on how much they've been reinvesting. And I think that was kind of the point of like, I don't think it will get rid of all bots, because if they're already making money, they have the funds, as long as they didn't pull it out. I mean, maybe, who knows, maybe they just pulled it completely out of the game and put it in their bank account. I mean, we don't know what the stats are, but if they, are getting reward cards and selling it off for DEC or stuff like that, and then just buying the starter cards, they can feed their accounts and keep them going. So yeah, at least it, I guess, feeds the ecosystem is kind of what you're saying, but how much does it change it?
If the team is trying to root out bots, which I imagine would be incredibly difficult and time intensive, what is that taking away from them doing to further the game? How much longer are we going to have to wait for land? How much longer are we going to have to wait for Rift Watchers and for some of these other things that we really want to see done? That would be my bigger concern. And if there is anyone watching or listening who's like, man, I can't get out of bronze, this game sucks, like, reach out to me. I will delegate you cards to help you. Like, there's gonna be spots opening up in our guild probably next week, like a bunch of spots, and like I'll delegate you stuff. We'll get you into silver. Just reach out to me. Like, problem solved.
So, I mean, I want to get your take as well, Steve, and then Trash, again, you can chime in on this as well. But specifically this comment earlier, you were talking about like, yeah, they probably weren't playing hard enough or investing as much. This player actually invested a lot, pulled out and said, I still hope for the game. I might reinvest if it keeps going lower. But their narrative that they're painting, right, is that the Splinterlands team failed to capture on the huge explosion growth we saw August through January. Now we've kind of trended down a little bit. And what the narrative from their point of view is, because of the bots and making it such a bad experience for newer players, and now that they didn't capitalize on this huge growth, it's probably going to be stunted from here. So Steve, as someone you've had a really long picture in this, almost 4 years as we talked about, do you see this narrative of like, okay, we had this huge explosion growth and it's come down because of the problem with bots, or is it just completely unrelated from that in your point of view?
I would say you could say the Splinterlands team has missed on one thing, and it would be grabbing the excitement of when the game blew up, because they couldn't get enough developed quick enough. But this is not something unheard of in the crypto space. Crypto developers are hard to get. They're very expensive. It's a very competitive market out there. If you know how to work in blockchain, you don't have a choice from one job. You probably have a choice between like 10. So the reality is they're doing things as fast as they could without breaking things. The other thing is you are going to see that they got too popular too quick if you didn't want to see that happen. And that's just a reality of it. They released their token. They didn't understand how popular it would be. I don't think they ever meant for DEC to be worth, 10 times peg. They didn't, they made a few little mistakes by making DEC such a big part of the airdrop. And then the other thing is they just didn't have enough developers to actually release land quick enough to actually get us into the second mode of the game quick enough. I really didn't see us being like halfway through Untamed and land not being, through Chaos and land not being out, because land was sold way before that. So sure, there's been developmental, like not hitting developmental goals as quick as we would like, is about the biggest criticism that I could give them. But at the same time, anybody who says that like the new player experience to this game is not good enough, the only way the new player experience to the game is not very good is if somebody sold you the fact that you could come to this game, buy a $10 spell book and make a ton of money. And anybody who is making that kind of content is hurting the game and not helping the game, because it's just not true.
Are you calling me out, Steve?
No, I think your series is excellent, because when somebody sees $1 to 11 and like you're on episode 432, they're going to know that they're not supposed to do that in Splinterlands.
Yep.
But
I'm the case of what not to do. I love it.
But I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel, because like I've never told anybody, hey, come play Splinterlands and you're going to spend $10 and you're going to make a lot of money. That's not how I've ever tried to approach telling people to play this game. I like even the smallest amount I would be willing to do in my video was $150 to start into this ecosystem and start doing stuff. And it included, giving myself 20 hive power, and you could maybe lower it to like 110, because I did a little fun thing in that video and bought 10 packs, but still, I feel like that's the way that you should really approach it. If I was going to ask you, hey, do you want to start playing Yu-Gi-Oh with me, with Magic with me, with any of the card pack games, would I be telling you that you're never going to have to buy another pack ever again in the real world? And that's what this game is supposed to be like. I mean, to be successful in those kind of games, you weren't buying packs of cards, you were buying boxes of packs of cards. If you were, and that's just the way the game's supposed to be. Even when I was younger and I was getting into those kind of card games, it was, go buy 2-3 packs a week, every week, get $10, buy a couple packs. And if you can't do that, this isn't the game for you. It's just not. That's the mindset of their game. When they've talked about it, this is what they've made. They've made a game that's supposed to attract the old Magic players, the Yu-Gi-Oh players, the Pokemon players, and give them a digital way to do it, to actually own it. And then there is a ton of extra ways for you to make that money back. And what I did is not tricky. I got to a point in the game where I have accounts in Hive and in Splinterlands that are worth way more money than I invested. And I did it again on that $150 account. It might not seem like that account's special, but it's at $180 and it's 2 months in. So I put in 150. I have a Hive account with 80 Hive power. That's $80. And I have an account with $150 worth of cards. So actually, no, it's like $230. So
how much time did you put in to get that $30? I'm curious.
To get I've been playing that account for 2 months, 2.5 months. So I started with $150. I put 20 Hive power. I bought 10 packs, and I spent $90 specifically on Chaos Legion cards. And this was 2 months ago when things were more expensive. You would get more bang for your buck if you did it today. And then I blog. I do the share your challenge post. I do the blogging post, and that pushed me up now to having 80 Hive in HBD on the account. An extra $60 went into buying cards. So even with the down market, my card value's at $150, which is more than I put in. And the Hive account all by itself is sitting over there with 80 Hive power on it, because I'm not powering down. Because I want people who come and get into the game to go ahead and embrace the Hive blockchain if they're going to do it. But I do mention that once you get to like maybe 50 Hive power, you could just power down. Because at that point, you don't need to go higher if you don't want to. I'm just not doing it for my example, because to be completely honest, in about 6 months, I'm going to show you a Hive account worth about $300 and an account worth about $500. I'm going to be like, I did $150 in 6 months. And that's how I feel like you have to approach the game. Not I'm going to spend $10 and I'm going to play the starter cards until I get enough rewards cards or I pull packs. I mean, it's just, that doesn't work. You can't tell somebody to come here and do that. You got to tell somebody, hey, come invest a few $100. You'll get into this game. You'll meet a new community. You'll have a chance. But you got to find the right type of people, If you don't like to blog and write, then you got to have money.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're making like 50 cents to $1 a day playing.
Yeah, it's not a lot of money, but I mean, that's how I built up my collection the first time. And, in 2 years, you'd have maybe a maxed out Chaos Legion set. I mean, it would take you that long, but
yeah, I mean that would be awesome.
It's a slow grind.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
and
that's
the
the point
more-
of my $1 start too, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah,
it's,
but-
it's not fun, but like if you really want to grind it out, I'm at, now with the modern format changes, I'm a third of the way to silver 3, right? So, I'm getting there.
Yeah, I just don't think it's a fun thing to do. Do you have fun playing that account? I doubt it. You get to make content with it. Imagine if you weren't making content.
If I wasn't making content,
mean,
the thing I have fun with is streaming it and introducing
Yeah.
players who are struggling in bronze and just showing like, hey, it's actually not that hard if you just rent these cards. You can beat these bots pretty easily.
Yeah.
So it's more of a teaching experience than like really I would want to do that myself, of course. But yeah, Trash, I want to hear your thoughts though. What is your perspective on the narrative of Splinterlands? Because you got in not quite at the top, but maybe a month before the top. And now things have come really down. What is your perspective as a player? How do you feel about that? And then like, what do you think some of those reasonings might be for this trend?
Well, when I first got in, I think I bought like 6 lands at like $700 each.
Ooh.
And so like they've like halved. I haven't checked them in a month. I'm guessing they're around 350. I don't actually know. And that doesn't worry me. And I guess the narrative that I hear in what you said, like the Splinterlands team missed one opportunity, I'm out. It seems very, very black and white. So I married a psychologist, and so we talk about like dysfunctional thinking often. I have a lot of it, and so
all?
Right? It sounds like black and white thinking, all or nothing. Like either they capitalize on this opportunity and I get rich, or they fail and I take everything out and I don't want to be a part of it. And that's just not how I look at things when I'm in a good place. When I'm in a good place, this team, I trust them until they give me a reason not to, and not capitalizing on growth that was overwhelming that's within the range of acceptability to me. Is they did the best they could, and they grew because they were doing things correctly. They were doing things right. And so I hear that, and I'm hearing my wife in my head. It's like, validate the valid. It's like, so I'm trying to find like what's valid in this. Like,
well, I appreciate their take, right? I appreciate that someone's commenting and giving a different perspective, because as I said, right, all these people coming on here, we're all Splinterlands bullish, we're all streamers. And, and to their credit, I didn't read out the full comment. As I said, like they said, I'm still rooting for the game. I'm selling off some assets and I'm looking for a bottom to maybe come back in. So it's not like they're completely walking away forever. And, who knows how that will go for them. Maybe it's the smart thing to do. Maybe that they'll regret it later on. And, everyone gets to make their own choices, right? And that's the thing about this space is everyone, now that it's real money, it's not just like, oh, I'm walking away from Call of Duty because I got bored of Call of Duty. It's like I have to decide, okay, I have $1,000 in Splinterlands. Do I still believe in this game? Do I still have fun with this game? Do I want to invest more? Do I want to pull out? And that's, I don't know, it makes it fun. But honestly, it also makes it super stressful if you're not used to dealing with, finances and gaming together. Yeah. It's super weird.
It is.
Yeah.
It's emotional.
Yeah, that's one of the problems the whole NFT world is going to face when it comes to bringing people into NFT games. The stakes over here are a little too high in a lot of things. And this problem, it's going to be a problem for a lot of games. Like, why do I own a lot of Gala Games assets and not even do videos about them? Because like one NFT over there is like thousands of dollars. I'm like, I ain't gonna work. I can't come to my buddy and be like, hey, come spend thousands of dollars to play a game and make a few dollars. It's got to be Splinterlands, I think, is the best one at that, because there's different levels of investment. You have to pick the ones that you're going to be most comfortable of, but the minimum is still probably around $200 or $300 if you're really going to come here and get into the game and get enough summoners. And I understand that maybe he's looking at it too much like a $10 spell book was access to the game and it should be fun. And maybe if we need to have that mindset that the $10 spell book needs to be fun, they're kind of adjusting that with the new plans. And so maybe they've gotten to it now, but I don't think it was ever thought of that players wouldn't buy more cards and wouldn't buy more packs. by
And
the
go
team.
try to buy a Magic the Gathering deck that will win you a Grand Prix. It's gonna be way more than $300. It's the control decks, they're like $800. The cheap aggro decks are 200 to 300, and so it it's not, like you said, it's not an unreasonable amount of money, like $200 to $300, and you own it. Like, it's digital and it's yours. It doesn't
Yeah.
seem that unreasonable to me.
Well, maybe we should end with some wisdom because I like what you're saying there. And, I think the difference, I played Magic a little bit in middle school, Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff. Like, I never got super serious about it. But when you bought cards, I feel like you paid the cards for the packs or whatever, you bought them off your friends. You don't think about the value for most people. Maybe if you're a huge collector, you're like, okay, I know what this is worth off the top of my head. But for us back then, like, maybe eBay, like once eBay got big, you could research it then and try to find card prices. But for the most part, like you never thought about it again versus Splinterlands NFT games. You have your account value at the top of your screen 24/7. Whatever it is, the DEC price, SPS price, you can go check your legendary card and has it gone up or down. So I want to get you guys' takes maybe to round up this podcast and help the community. How have you guys dealt with the emotions of it? How have you learned to, I guess, control that? Or how do you think about handling the emotions and the stress of seeing your account go up and down?
It's a fantastic question. So I worked as a chaplain for a while, hanging out with dying people, been getting called in the middle of the night, right? And the one thing it trained us to do was like feel your emotions fully, and then your goal is to be fully in that world of pain or joy or sadness, but realize that I also am myself and I'm not connected to this person. In the same way, I would say, recognize the emotions you're having and realize that it's just a number and that tomorrow it will be different. It could go up and it could go down, and set a strategy and work the strategy. If it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't, reevaluate it.
Yeah, I mean, word. For me, I went through this. So my account value went up to about $400,000, and it's down to $150,000 when I look at my card collection. And every time I saw that number going up and down, my core mind never thought, hey, I should sell this whole collection. And it's because, I have that mentality. I still have a box of Magic cards out in the garage, and I would love to pull those out if I ever have my buddies over and be like, hey, let's go play Magic. But it's just, if you're that type of person, the game is meant to be, a collectible card game where you buy these cards, you take some pride in ownership. I think it's pretty cool. I'm one of the people in the world that has a Jotun, that has a llama, that has some of those rare 7-cost legendary summoners. I wish I had the beta ones, but I just didn't have the funds at the time. So I have to move on and watch them kick my butt and champion all day long. But that's just one of the aspects. And it's supposed to be a competitive-ish card game where your goal should be to take part in the tournaments, which we don't talk about enough because they're really good, and it should feel special because maybe if you never played those other games, in the end of the day, I never owned part of Wizards of the Coast. My cards as a kid, I couldn't keep them in great shape, and they would disappear, and there's just other things that can happen to those physical things. So I like the digital versions a lot better. As long as I have my access to my account, I won't ever really lose these cards. So when it comes to this specific format, I feel like digital fits in really well. But to me, I just look at it like if you believe in the project and you don't think it's going to die, then the only time you should look to get out of it if it's like, okay, this isn't going to be part of my life anymore. And, I'm a content creator as a hobby. I'm a player as well. And there's just so many ways for these cards to create me value outside of the game that I don't see a reason to worry about what they are overall worth going up and down. The only thing I really pay attention for is like when things get ridiculously cheap, I'm going to want to buy some. And when things get extremely overvalued, I'm going to want to sell like some extras that I have.
Absolutely.
And that's just, to me, that's part of being in the crypto world. I mean, in the, if you're in the NFT cryptocurrency world, you should already be kind of used to this. If you have a goal of getting like one Bitcoin, do you really want to worry about whether or not it's worth 41,000 or 35,000 or 42,000? No, you want to own a Bitcoin because you'll be one of the one in maximum 21 million people that can own a Bitcoin. Well, these assets are even more scarce. And if you believe the game will still be around in the next 4 to 5 years and will be possibly one of the premier trading card digital NFT games, and I do think they are that, and that marketplace, it is a marketplace that maybe isn't one of the biggest in the world, but is big. Having the oldest, rarest cards is going to be something that's going to be pretty cool. And these sets are still relatively new. This is the very first big set, right? So Chaos Legion is the first big set. If the game continues for 4 to 5 years, there's going to be 4 or 5 big sets like this out there in the marketplace. So, I mean, if you like it and stuff like that, I wouldn't even check your account value all that much. I would more check your cards and their levels and how many copies of things you have, and see as long as that's continuing to grow, then you have more. And then at some point, if the game blows up, cool, you can get out if you want. And I understand that. Like, I have to admit, when Splinterlands could almost pay for my house, and I think maybe I should sell all my cards. the thought crossed my mind, but at the same time, you have to find the things you enjoy. And like, if I didn't have my cards, I wouldn't have met Luke when he got into it. I wouldn't have met all the people I've met through you. I wouldn't have these opportunities to have these fun discussions and do something that I enjoy doing. And to me, that's why I got into the game, was like to have some fun. And I stayed in it more because of the people I met. In the early on, it was people in the team, talking with Clove, talking with Carrie Allen, talking with Agrod and Matt and those people in the Discord, and just learning things from them about the overall crypto space and the Hive block. Well, back then it was Steam blockchain, and then but now it's the Hive blockchain. But just having that whole ability to get into a nice community that did support me. And if other people are not finding that supportive community, I'm sorry they haven't found that yet, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think those are good words from both of you, and I think that is a good way to like say, hey, money isn't everything, right? Like it is important. It's useful in life, but if your main goal is money, that doesn't always equal happiness or joy or those connections you're talking about, Steve. And so I think, yeah, it is difficult, coming from non-NFT gaming, non-crypto world, where you see now you're in Splinterlands, you're into crypto, and it goes up and down, and you do have to deal with those emotions. But I think, that's part of the reason why my stance has always been like, hey, if you treat it like a video game, just take your video game budget that you would have poured out into whatever game Call of Duty, Xbox, whatever, Fortnite skins. You'd never see that money anyway. So, if you throw them into NFT games and it's just the same budget and it goes to nothing, great. That's what it would have been before, So
good point.
I think there needs to be a space where you can just play the game, enjoy it. And as you said, Steve, or as you said, Trash, like if it goes up, great. But if it doesn't, then, yeah, it's going to suck. You are going to have that emotion of like, oh, my account was $200 and now it's $20. Yeah, that does suck. But at the end of the day, there's always a chance for it to go back up. Like if you're patient about it, the only time you have to really worry about the value is if you're literally cashing out. If it goes up and down, right, but before then, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's only when you're taking the value out that it's the final price, right? So it's hard. You have to learn patience. You have to, I like what you said, Trash, feel those emotions, but don't let them ruin your life, right? And I think that's something that we just all have to learn. I feel like I'm still learning that as we go in this game.
Yeah, and I think you get better at dealing with the volatility stuff of the crypto market after you've been in it a little bit longer, especially because if this overall space is successful, it keeps going up and to the right. So if you just stay here, like I used to go up and down within a few thousands, and now I go up and down within a few hundred thousands. And it took getting used to, and getting that mindset that like, don't worry about the money because what I'm investing in are these things. And like, I had to remember, a Bitcoin is still a Bitcoin. A Splinterlands card is still a Splinterlands card. If I start relating it to dollars, and always worrying about its dollar value, you're just going to make yourself upset and have some bad nights. And if you're investing, I mean, if your Splinterlands collection value going down can ruin your day, then you put too much in. Or you didn't take enough out. So if you're having, like, if you're looking at your account and you're like, oh my God, if it goes down, I'm going to freak out, then sell some of your cards and get out of the game, because it's not worth it for you to have that kind of anxiety in the game.
Yeah. I mean, that's common trading wisdom. I've heard that from every trader, you know, just in general. They say, you know, never risk more than you can afford to lose. And if you, as you said, Steve, if you're sweating, if you're anxious about it, probably means your position is too big for you to handle. And that's fine, you know, like scale back a little bit. And, you know, everyone's got different goals. And if your goal is like, I am going to be becoming an investor here, putting in thousands of dollars to hopefully strike it rich, then that's one thing. But I don't think the majority of players are there. I think that's what a lot of people talk about. But I don't think, you know, more than a couple % of people are really in this game for that reason. Maybe more a couple months ago when it was bubbling. Probably not as much anymore. But yeah, good discussion today. I know, Steve, you got to get going here. So let's take a little time to sign off. Trash Dragon, I'll give it over to you first. Where can people find you? I had a couple of people asking earlier about how can I get into that guild potentially. So if you want to answer that as well.
Yeah, so I'm on YouTube at Trash Dragon Gaming. You can find me over there. Find one of my videos and you can hop on my Discord. I have a Twitter. It's small. Go find me on YouTube and we'll connect. I have a link to my Discord in all my videos. So I look forward to hearing from you.
Sweet. And if they want to join your guild, maybe just talk to you on Discord from there.
Yeah, just join my Discord and shoot me a message and we'll talk about it.
Perfect. And Steve, the legendary Steve, 3 episodes in. Everyone knows where to find you, but just in case there's a new listener.
Yeah, I'm Steve R82 pretty much on most of the social platforms. My main one that I post on is YouTube. I am starting to stream my live streams onto Twitch as well. Maybe I'll be on the Splinterlands TV eventually, but we'll have to see. I know my schedule doesn't work out that well for them. So that might hold me back a little bit. And if you want to talk to me, I do have a Telegram that you can come on. I will be active. I do respond to people if they ping me there. It's getting a little bit bigger, so it's getting a little bit fun to see, you know, more people in there chatting with the different players who are in there.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. One other thing. I'm also on the Splinterlands stream team. Sorry, I forgot. Mondays.
It just started up, so, you know, it's okay. We'll forgive you this time.
Migraine brain. We'll blame it on migraine brain. Mondays at 4 p.m. Central.
Love it. Well, thank you guys so much for being here today. Chat, thank you for coming by. And if you're listening on the podcast platforms as well, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. And for now, take care. Until next time. Peace out.
Have a good one. Thanks for having me. Bye.